What's up, guys? Welcome back inside the arena. My name is Cody Kessler, and we've got a great guest today. I'm joined by my guy, Owen Hanson. Some of you may know him from the docuseries Cocaine Quarterback. I know him as a former USC Trojan. He's also a national champion, but then turned drug kingpin. Everybody help me welcome Owen Hanson. Thanks for joining us today, man. What's going on, man? How you doing?
Dude, it's good to be out, right?
Yeah, right?
9.5 years in a 6x8 prison cell.
Man, yeah, and we'll get into that in a little bit. You've got an unbelievable story, but I want to start at the beginning. Let's take us back a little bit. So you grow up in Redondo Beach, right? And you know, for a lot of you don't know, Southern California, same area. What was it like growing up? How was your childhood? What kind of got you to where you are today?
Yeah, you know, Redondo Beach, surfer kid, beach volleyball was like my life, right?
Yeah.
And everyone's like, why beach volleyball? If anybody that's from Southern California knows, like, if you're on the beach, you got pretty girls around you, you got surf. I mean, that's life, right? So I remember always wanting to be a professional beach volleyball player. And my father played volleyball. My uncle played at SC and played on the AVP tour. And I was like, God, that's my dream.
Yeah.
And I remember my parents broke up. They split up when I was 8 years old. And my mom left, and I was crying. My dad's like, what the fuck are you doing crying, man? We don't cry in this house. Grab the volleyball, grab your surfboard, we're going to the beach. And then volleyball became like my new drug, you know, to not think about my mother.
Yeah.
And I literally just played volleyball. I went to school. My dad gave me a curfew at 6 p.m. every day in high school. And he's like, the only way, son, you're ever going to go to college is if you get a scholarship. He goes, I'm a construction worker. We're a blue-collar family. Your mom's gone, and you better figure it out because I can't afford college. And I remember I was getting these offers, you know, University of Hawaii, Long Beach State, BYU, Pepperdine, and then finally USC came around. And I was like, Pops, SC? He goes, fuck yeah, SC. He goes, You've been wearing SC Cardinal and Gold your whole life, since you've been in diapers. And, you know, they gave me a 2/3 volleyball scholarship, which is good. You know, volleyball's not the biggest sport at USC. And we went with it, right? And Cody, I'm not going to lie, when I got there, I was in shock, right? You get there and you know, we've been there, and you're looking at all the wealth, right? You got these kids pulling out daddy and mommy's American Express black cards. You got the Mercedes and the BMWs and the Cadillacs, and you're like, fuck. And I'm like, where do I fit in, right?
Yeah.
I'm just this surfer kid from Redondo Beach with 2 nickels I can't even rub together, right? And I was like, man, what am I gonna fucking do? And that's where it started. Like, people like say, okay, well, how did you get involved into what you got into? And my sophomore year, I got redshirted from the volleyball team. And they said, Hanson, you need to work on your vertical jump and your arm strength. And I said, all right, no problem. But I was devastated. I felt like that family, I just lost, that volleyball family. You know how it is.
Yeah.
When you're an athlete, you have that family. It's like a brotherhood. And when he cut me and basically said, you're going to be redshirted, I said, okay, I'm going to be back, and I'm going to be back twice as strong. I'm going to have a vertical jump better than anyone in here. And I was so determined. I remember I drove down to Redondo Beach, was where I was from, and I went to the Gold's Gym. And I went to the biggest motherfucker, big bodybuilder. And I said, hey, the coach cut me. He redshirted me. I said, it's pretty much like getting cut. I said, I need to figure out how to work on my vertical jump and my arm strength. I said, you're the strongest guy in this gym. What do I do? He goes, do you want to do it legally or illegally? I said, whatever is quickest, right? I had 3 months to figure it out. And he says, well, I suggest you get on some performance-enhancing drugs. I said, well, where the fuck do I get those? He says, well, you got money? You can buy them for me. I'm like, I don't got money. My dad's a fucking construction worker. He's like, well, I suggest you go down to Tijuana. And he says, you can go to the veterinarian or a pharmacia. I'm like, fuck. So the next day I get in my Toyota Camry, 1989 Toyota Camry that my grandfather gave me when he passed. And I go down to the Tijuana border, and I cross the bridge, and I walk across, and I get in a taxi, and I give him this address to this veterinarian. And we get there, and there's fucking horses and dogs and cats. And then there's fucking like 6 big dudes, like Americans that are just jacked. I'm like, okay, I'm in the right place, right? Yeah. I said, I'm in the right place. And I have this list from this bodybuilder, and I slap it down, and she's literally pulling out vials of steroids and pills and Winstrol and Anavar. And I'm like, fuck yeah, you know? And I think the total was like a couple $100.
Did you know anything about steroids or
I
anything prior?
Didn't know anything.
Nothing, yeah.
Nothing. And now I'm thinking to myself, well, how the fuck am I going to get these back, right?
Yeah.
So I ask her for a plastic bag. She gives me a sandwich bag. And I'm literally dumping these fucking pills in this bag, and I'm dropping these glass vials, and I'm lining them up. And I say, hey, can I get some of that medical tape? She gives me medical tape, and I'm wrapping up this bag, and I'm making it like a hot dog, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck, where am I going to put this thing? And I said, fuck it. I had my compressor shorts from USC volleyball. Remember, we used to get those Nike compressor shorts? I went in the bathroom, and I pulled them down, and I had that perfect tube of tape, right? And I didn't put it in the hole. I put it in the crack, all right? So
hey, clarify.
Yeah,
okay, all right. I'm glad.
It was not in the hole.
Hey,
it was the crack.
Okay.
So I have this fucking hot dog in my ass now, right? Just in the crack. And I'm fucking literally thinking, okay, put these compressor shorts on and let's get straight to the border, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm with my buddy. He's like, dude, where's your shit? I said, you can't see it, right? He goes, no. I said, good.
Good.
We're in a good place right now, right? And we get to the border, and literally, like, the line's 2 hours. And we're trying to cross from Mexico into the U.S. And there's custom agents. I don't know if you've ever crossed, but there's literally, 20 customs agents. And I'm fucking sweating, man. I'm stressed. I've never done anything illegal in my life. I've never even lied. I had a strict father.
Yeah.
And I get to this customs agent, and he says, are you bringing anything back? And my heart dropped. Like, am I going to tell this guy I got $300 of fucking steroids strapped to my balls? Like, or am I going to lie to him? And I lied for the first time in my life. And I said, no, officer. I was just at Papa's and Beer eating tacos and drinking Coronas with my buddy. And he's like, welcome to America, right? And that rush, I tell people, that rush when I just beat the system, right? I beat this customs agent. I lied to him, and I crossed with this illegal substance on my body. That rush I chased for the rest of my life until I became this cocaine quarterback for the biggest cartel in the world.
Yeah. And is that, so on the docuseries, you mentioned how you started selling, steroids and some other party drugs at USC. Would you say, is that what started that to now you being able to provide that at USC?
Yeah, I had a niche, right? I started taking these steroids, now I started blowing up. Next thing you know, I got football guys asking me, what are you taking? And I'm like, oh, I can give you what I'm taking.
Yeah.
It's $300, here you go. And then all of a sudden I have these fraternity kids, like, man, they started calling me like Dr. O-Dog because they see me prescribing all these drugs to these athletes, right? And they're like, can you get us Adderall? We need to stay up for our test. I got you. Let me give you some Adderall. I'd go down to the border and same place. I go to the pharmacy and get Adderall. Then I had these sorority girls, well, I got the Adderall, but I can't sleep at night. You need to get Xanax. Let me get you some Xanax.
Yeah.
So I started becoming, literally, they called me Dr. O-Dog. And I would get them anything and everything we want. Eventually, they started asking for ecstasy, cocaine. Well, I'm this kid that just is a hustler, right? Now I'm realizing I got this niche. I'm a black market concierge. And so I just started providing anything and everything I could provide. And it blew up, no doubt. But it paid for my school, right? It paid for my dates with sorority girls, going out at the 9-0 with the bros,
Yeah, man.
And being able to keep up with the Joneses, right?
Yeah.
And it was a good feeling. I was finally able to buy a Mercedes and feel like I fit in.
Yeah.
And that's where it all started.
Yeah. And sticking with that before we get into the next part, what was that like, man? Because I see the ring right now. I'm jealous. I wish I had one. But
dude, I got two. Can you believe that?
Yeah, you do have two. And what was that like? I got to know. You hear the stories. I know Leinert, Reggie, Lindell. Lindell's my guy. What were those days really like for someone on the outside looking in when you were part of the USC football team, really in their glory days?
Dude, that right there, first of all, I was a walk-on, right?
Yeah.
I'm a nobody, but I've never played the game in my life. So even as a walk-on, I literally felt like we were rock stars, right?
That logo travels, man. It doesn't matter.
We had that red carpet anywhere we went. The Rams were not around. The Raiders were gone. The Chargers were in San Diego. So we were the pro team. Anybody and everybody that was into sports wanted to be in the Coliseum You know, Shaquille O'Neal, Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg was at our practices, Will Ferrell. We were the team. And anywhere we went, we had that red carpet rolled out. You know, you'd show up. Matt was dating Paris Hilton at the time.
Yeah.
A year later, Reggie's dating Kim. I mean, anywhere we went, we had Josh from Hollywood. I'm sure you went out to a lot of his clubs. He was
Hyde.
Hyde.
Josh is my guy.
Josh the man.
I didn't know Josh until after I left SC.
He had the cane, right?
Yeah, the cane and the hat. Yeah, man, Josh was my guy.
So anywhere and everywhere we went, we had this entourage with us. You know, paparazzi started to become popular. The social medias back then was like, you know, TMZ and shit. And it's that life is once you go down that, you're like, okay, you want to keep riding that wave. And for me, that's kind of where it went. You know, my boys are now going to the NFL with these multi-million-dollar contracts. You know, my fraternity brothers are have that silver spoon in their mouth, and their dad's given, you know, $1 million jobs out of college, taking over the family business. And here I'm going like, fuck, what am I going to do? Like, I enjoy going out and having these models around me and this bottle service. And, you know, I got a job working for a USC alumni, and I was like, okay, this is what it's about, right? You go to USC for the connections. And literally after 2 years of this great paying job, 6 figures, you know, I stopped all the nonsense. That was just to keep up with the Joneses. I'm making 6 figures now, working in the real estate industry.
So when you first graduated, you stopped selling
everything.
Cool.
Yeah, I was like, cool. That was cool. That was fun. I had fun, and I'm done. Right.
Okay.
But right when I graduated, this is a funny story I haven't told many people. I had a bookmaker come up to me and said, hey, what if I give you $100,000 right now, and I'd give you another $100,000 to give it to Matt Leinart? I said, for what? And this is a bookie, right?
Yeah.
He says, just to not cover the spread of any game. I don't care what game it is. But I already had this job given to me, making 6 figures. And I believed in integrity, right? I was like, there's no way I'm going to do that to my brother. I'm not going to even ask. I said, thanks, but no thanks. Take your money. He gave me the $100,000 and put it on my lap.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa, it was tempting, right? $100,000 in one day just to go and tell Matt, hey, don't cover the spread, and here's $100,000 cash. And remember, we didn't have any NIL deals back then. So I'm sure it would have crossed Matt's mind as well. But I didn't even go there. I said, you know what? I'm good. I got a job working for a USC alumni. So fast forward 2 years, the recession hits, 2007, 2008. The market crashes. I'm the first one to go. My USC boss says, hey, sorry, man, you're done. The market's crashed. Yeah. We have nothing. We're stopping any development we're doing. Sales are tanking. I'm like, fuck, man. What am I going to do now? I went to my Rolodex. My Rolodex is what I'm known for. Do I call my USC fraternity brothers? Well, they're all in real estate. Oh, remember that bookmaker that offered me $100,000. I'm going to go back to him. Yeah. And that's what I did. I went back to him. And this is where this madness started, you know.
That's wild, man. And it's crazy too, like how things happen that lead to certain situations. But so going from, you know, selling steroids, selling party drugs at USC, working with the bookie, doing all those things, to now working with the cartel, that's a pretty damn big jump.
It was a big jump. So
how did you get to that point?
How did I get there? Good question.
Yeah.
So right when I started taking now bets,
yeah.
Okay, I'm using my Rolodex. I'm taking bets now from athletes.
Yep.
You know, I'm taking bets from my fraternity brothers. Now I'm using those A-list celebrities I'm already partying with from Hyde and whatnot. And I'm like, okay, I'm a bookie now. You know, you want to bet on sports, bet with me. Bet O-Dog. My name was O-Dog, and I started Bet O-Dog.
Where'd O-Dog come from?
O-Dog came from Lendell White.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He used to call me O-Dog, and then they started calling me Dr. O-Dog. They called me O-Dog because they said I was a dog. I used to have all these girls, and they're like, you're a fucking dog. You know, we're gonna call you O-Dog.
And I know Lendell.
We're going to call you O-Dog.
Yeah.
And then eventually they called me Dr. O-Dog. You know, you see in the documentary, Lendell goes, then we called him the doctor, Dr. O-Dog.
Whatever you need.
Yeah, whatever he needs.
So you're doing the bookies and then, you know, so.
So I fall back. Now I'm this black market concierge. I'm like, okay, I'm a bookie.
Yeah.
And then I was like, people started asking, like, hey, can you get an 8-ball? They wanted an ecstasy. They, you know, next thing you know, I'm like, a guy's betting on sports, and I'm like, here's an 8-ball. Oh, you need a bottle of whiskey? Okay, here's some McLaren. And it blew up. Mm-hmm. And my motto was, I would like to keep that motto. Like when you go to Las Vegas, you go and you get everything comped, right?
Yeah.
So my new thing was, Anybody that gambles with me, you fly to my house in Costa Rica, and you're in the rainforest, and we have girls and sports, and I fly in athletes that are not playing on the off season, and they're hanging out with my customers, and my customers are now gambling. They're hanging out with athletes. They're drinking. They feel like they're in Vegas, but now they're in Costa Rica where my office is. I'm showing them the office, and then I got so big. I was like, okay, you know what? I'm throughout the United States. I'm in almost every state. I'm like, okay, where do I take this next? You know, let's go international. Fuck it. Let's call it Beto Dog International. So I told all my sub bookies that work for me, I'm like, okay, guys, we're going international. We want to go to Canada. We want to go to Mexico, Europe, wherever you guys want to take it. Let's take this thing as big as we can. Because my mindset was like, okay, we've already got the United States. And we're doing good, you know. I remember one Super Bowl, Paris Hilton's boyfriend, Doug Reinert, called me. He's like, hey, Paris wants to bet on a game. I was like, let's take it. And, you know, we started taking bets from everybody. We didn't discriminate. And eventually we went international, and I remember I had an agent out of, when I say agent, it's like a sub bookie, someone that works underneath me.
Gotcha.
And we had a sub bookie in Newport Beach, and he says, hey, I got a whale, and he's out of Mexico. I said, great, your first international customer. And I remember the first week he lost $240,000. And this agent, this bookie comes and brings me a bag of cash in a duffel bag. I'm like, dude, on a Monday. I said, your fucking customer's bad motherfucker. Keep him happy. Remember, we do anything and everything for our customers. Yeah. If he wants to fly in, whatever he wants, we'll give him that VIP treatment. Yeah. And that's what we would do. And he next week loses another $200,000. Third week, another $200,000. This guy just keeps dropping off cash. I'm like, dude, whoever your customer is, this is a whale. Keep that man happy. Yeah. And every week when he loses, I'm giving him like 10% off his losses, a 10% free play, just trying to keep him on the site, because these are hard to come by.
Yeah, 100%.
And I remember the fifth week, he finally was about to hit. It was a Sunday night. I'll never forget this. I called this bookie that was his agent, and I said, get over to my house. I said, this guy's gonna hit us for like $240,000. I said, you know what? I want you to come pick up this cash, because on Monday morning, I want you to be there at 8 a.m. sharp, wherever this guy lives, and pay him. Yeah. He's like, why? Because when someone wins, they're usually paid in this bookie business, they're usually paid on Thursday. You ask why on Thursday? Because a normal bookie on the street collects from all the losers, and by the time they have the money, they go pay their winners.
They get enough,
But that's not the proper way to do business. My mindset was different, because we went to USC. We're more men of our words, right? Integrity. So I said, no, we pay our customers Monday. And I remember that was the biggest mistake I've ever made. I paid him. 2 days later, I get a message from his sub bookie. He says, I have something for you. And he comes and he gives me an encrypted phone. He says, my uncle, who's also my customer in Mexico, has this encrypted phone for you. I'm like, what the fuck am I gonna do with this encrypted phone? And he says, there's 3 passwords to get into it. It's a BlackBerry. Yeah. He says, there's no microphone, there's no camera, there's no GPS. It's just a BlackBerry with a signal that just has an email. So I get in there, I put in these 2 passwords, and the third password, it says, Wedo, I like the way you do business. I'm like, okay, fuck yeah. Remember, I don't know who this guy is yet. I just know he lives in Mexico. Thanks. Anything you need, I'm here for you. And he goes, good. He says, I have a favor to ask. You know, this guy's already lost over $500,000. So whatever he wants, right? What is that, sir? He says, I'm sure you have money throughout the United States being a bookie. He says, would there be a way we could work a deal together? And the deal would be, anytime you drop off cash for me, I'll pay you 10% on your money. I'm like, that's easy, right? Yeah. I'm like, what do you need? He says, I need $100,000 taken to a house in San Diego. At the time, I didn't know they're called safe houses. It's where people protect money, drugs, guns, people, whatever it is, right? I'm like, San Diego. I got a runner in San Diego that'll be there in 10 minutes. I called my runner. I said, hey, Johnny, drop off $100K at this address. And I gave him an address in like Vista, right? 10 minutes later, this guy, we'll call El Jefe, messages me back, and he says, great work, where do you want the $110,000 sent? So $110,000, I just made $10,000 for a 10-minute phone call, right? I'm like, okay, well, wire it to my office in Costa Rica. I had offshore banking in Costa Rica, because that's where my sports betting office was. Boom, I'm doing now all these transactions. Hey, I need North Carolina, I need 50,000. Florida, I need 150,000. Like I'm just dropping off money for this guy, and he's paying 10% on the dollar. I'm like, this is business 101, right? This is a no-brainer. I'm cleaning my money now and wiring it anywhere I need it. And then the $1 million question was, okay, can you pick up money for me, right? And I said, absolutely. So I picked up $1 million in Texas for this guy, and it was for one of his customers. He says, I need $1 million, and this is where I knew something was wrong. He goes, $1 million I need you to pick up in Brownsville, Texas. He says, we're not allowed over there. It's our rival. And I'm like, oh, fuck. I said, this is obviously someone in the cartel. But am I doing anything wrong, Cody? Not really. It's picking up money, dropping off money. I'm not doing anything that bad, right? Like I'm just an entrepreneur.
Gotcha.
And I'm like, all right, whatever you need. I call a couple people, act as security for me. I get a private plane. We fly over there. We get there. We pick up the $1 million. We get back on the plane, and I drop off the $1 million minus my 10%. You know, I think I cleared after I paid everyone, I cleared like 80,000.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, that's the easiest 80,000 I've ever made in 4 hours. And the next question came. He's like, Wedo, I love the way you do work. This is incredible. He says, would you be willing to do what you're doing now in Australia? And he says, in fact, I think I can make you $1 million a day. Remember, son of a construction worker, wanting to be like my boys Reggie and Matt in the NFL. Now I'm going to be a millionaire, you're telling me, in a day?
Yeah.
Okay, where do we sign up? He says, by the way, you need to figure out how to sell my product. I have a ton of cocaine sitting over there. I'm like, fuck. Well, I'm going to figure it out for $1 million a day. So I just use that Rolodex, and I literally figure out through my USC contact, 5 years prior, I remember one of the guys on the baseball team told me his brother was in the weed game internationally. I'm like, okay, I use my Rolodex. That guy, okay, Jackson. I need to talk to his brother. I go to USC. This guy's now a baseball coach, right?
Yeah.
I said, you told me you had a brother that was an international weed dealer. How can I talk to him? He's like, he's in San Diego, man. I'm like, I got to meet him. I'm like, I drive to San Diego. I meet this brother, and I say, hey, man, I'm Owen. I went to school with your brother. I need someone that's in the international drug business. And he's like, well, I'm playing racquetball right now with a guy that's this old Italian gangster, and he's in the international drug game, but I don't know if he'll talk to you. So I talked to him, I pull him aside, and I said, hey, look. He goes, whoa, stop talking about anything illegal. He says, I've had problems in America. If you want to talk to me, you got to fly to Italy when I go home. I'm like, fuck, I keep thinking about the $1 million a day. I'm like, I'll fly to Italy, fuck it. And 2 weeks later, I fly to Italy. And I sit down with this wise guy, and we're in Naples, Italy. Old fucking man, just in this tracksuit, right? I get there, and he picks me up in a Fiat, and he gives me a fucking kiss on the cheek like an Italian gangster, right? He smells like shit from all the fucking body odor. It smells like BO, right? And I remember I told him, I said, look it, man, I have an opportunity to make $1 million a day. He says, what do you got? I says, I got a ton of cocaine in Australia. He goes, no way. It's impossible. There's nobody that has cocaine in Australia. It's the hardest place in the world to get drugs into. I said, I'm telling you, man. He said, stop wasting my time. Get out of here. I'm like, no, I'm telling you, man. It's real. This guy's a client of mine.
Yeah.
He says, get to Australia, and when you get there and you see it with your own eyes, fucking call me. He says, but for now, don't waste my time. And I was so bummed out, man. I thought I would have had this guy, right? So I get to Australia, and I'm sitting there, and El Jefe messages me, you ready? I'm like, fuck, I'm not ready. I got to get this Italian over here. And I called the Italian. I said, hey, it's here. I've seen it with my own eyes. I lied to him, right? But I knew it was there. 2 days later, this Italian gangster shows up to Australia. And El Jefe goes, are you ready? I said, yeah, I'm ready. He says, get a room at the Four Seasons Hotel in Sydney, Australia. I'm like, okay. So I go and I get a room at the Four Seasons. I tell this Italian gangster, hey, I'm going to get your room right next to me. I said, I was so nervous, Cody. I didn't want to be around this, right? Anything in Australia over 2 kilos is a life sentence. And I knew that in the back of my head. I've been doing my homework.
And you were well over that.
Yeah, I was well over that, right? Yeah. So I get into this room and I remember I'm just sitting there. I'm so fucking nervous, man. And there's this guy knocks on the door. It's room 428. And he was in a DHL outfit. And he gives me this package. I'm like, oh my God, here it goes. I get the package. I'm like, holy shit, this thing's heavy. And I know this Italian's next to me. We'll call him Uncle Louie, right? I go, I'm knocking on the door. I go, Uncle Louie, get over here. I'm hitting on the wall because he's in the next room. And he comes over, and we open up the box, and he goes, holy shit. He goes, you weren't lying. He takes a knife, and he cuts the first kilo. There's 10 kilos in there. He cuts the first kilo, and he takes it, and he goes, this is fucking pure cocaine. He goes, this has got to be from like Colombia or Peru. And he takes it. I go, get it out of here. I don't want anything to do with it. I'm like, get it fucking out of here. I'm fucking scared shitless. Yeah. And I'm 25 years old. And he's
25?
Like, yeah, 25. Man, I'm so nervous.
Yeah.
Right? And he comes back like 30 minutes later, and he's got a duffel bag. Actually, it was a roller. It had wheels on it, and it had $1 million cash in it. And the million was for us, and he had his own separate bag with 500,000. And so he sold it for 1.5 million. It was $150,000 a kilo.
Yeah.
And the agreement I had with El Jefe, this cartel boss, is whatever I got, we split. My job was to give him 50, and I kept 50, and whatever Uncle Louie made was on him.
Yeah.
So I have $1 million, and I'm like, holy shit, like this is insane. This guy wasn't lying. $1 million a day. And this Italian gangster's like, hey, my people are asking, when can we get more? So I'm on this encrypted phone telling El Jefe, hey, I got the $1 million. What do you want me to do? He goes, tomorrow you're going to get 20 more. I'm like, fuck yeah. So the next day it's 2 million. $1 million for me.
20 more kilos?
20 more kilos. So now I got $1 million for me and $1 million for El Jefe, right? And then the next day another 20. And we take off on the weekends and we work Monday through Friday. And I'm just collecting millions and millions of dollars. And now I'm sitting in this fucking apartment in Darling Harbour, Sydney, Australia, and I'm literally sitting, I got fucking 2 million in the dishwasher, I got $1 million in the microwave, I got $1 million in the attic. You open my cupboards and there's millions and millions of dollars just stacked, right? And I'm like, holy shit, Cody, what the fuck am I gonna do? I'm literally laying on my bed going, what have I gotten myself into? I'm like sleeping with $10 million.
And that was my next question. Was it happening so fast, or was there a point at 25 when you're sitting in Australia where you take a second and go, what the hell am I doing? Like when reality set in, or was it just happening so fast that didn't happen in that moment?
I couldn't stop.
Yeah.
Like, how are you gonna stop? Like, it's like turning on the water and just imagine all this money come down. Are you gonna stop it? No, you're gonna keep taking it. But now I had to figure out, okay, now what's next?
Yeah.
So I messaged El Jefe, okay, what do you want me to do with this? He says, Wedo, that's why you're there, remember? I sent you there to move the money. He says, that's your job. I'm like, holy shit, I thought some guy was just gonna pick it up and they're gonna take it on a plane or a boat and I was good, right?
Yeah.
But that's what he hired me for, right? I was like, holy fuck, I'm fucked now. Like, I had no clue how I was going to do it. And I just went back to that Rolodex. What am I going to do? I'm going to call my accountant. My accountant is in the U.S. I'm going to call him. I'm like, dude, I lied to him. I said, I got $10 million. This gambling customer of mine is losing. He's a Chinese guy, and he's got a bunch of money in Australia, and he's paying me in cash. I said, I need your help. So he flies over with his brother and his father-in-law. And they think it's gambling money. And gambling's legal in Australia, so it's not like I'm doing anything wrong in their eyes, right? And so we have a meeting, and we're like, we're going to start with the Bank of China first. We're going to go in there, and he made us fake IDs, and we're literally going in the Bank of China with these fake IDs, and we're taking $50,000 and they're wiring it anywhere we want in the world. Bank of China is shady, right? And there's 4 of us. So we're doing like, let's see, $200,000 a day, and there's only 2 Bank of China, so we can't go in every day or they're gonna know. So we do like $400K every 2 weeks between the 4 of us. But we start to get hot, like they're starting to look at us funny, right? And I'm like, okay, what's next? He says, well, Australia, what are they known for? There's a couple things Australia's known for. Kangaroos,
yeah.
They're known for Ugg boots. Remember the Ugg boots?
Oh yeah, yeah.
So at the time, Ugg boots were very popular. And I said, okay, you know what we could do? We could go buy bullion. Bullion's like gold coins. At the time, they're like $1,500 a coin for a 1 ounce. I said, let's go buy gold bullion with our cash, and we'll take the Ugg boots And when we'll rip out the soles and we'll glue 4 gold bullion to each one. So it's like $3,200 basically.
Yeah.
2, 4, so like $7,000 per sole we're gluing this gold in. And now we have 4 of us, we're all buying this gold, and we're buying like hundreds of pairs of Ugg boots, and we're literally gluing them into the sole, and we're packaging them up and sending them back to the US because it looks normal if it's leaving from Australia to the US because it's Uggs. That's what
everybody's buying them.
Everyone's buying them, right? That's what they're known for.
They're not going to get flagged.
So we're sending Ugg boots out, and we're like, fuck, we're sending like $100,000 a week in Ugg boots. And it's like, okay, now I got my girlfriend saying, hey, enough with the fucking Uggs. I'm like, just take them. Like, just don't worry about them, right? Yeah. She's got green, she's got pink, she's got brown, she's got fucking coffee colored. And they're fed up. They're like, this is enough Uggs. Yeah. And they don't know there's fucking money in there. Yeah. They just think they're Uggs. I'm like, just wait. When I get home,
this guy really likes them.
Yeah. So now we're like, fuck, what are we going to do next? And we keep running out of ideas. We're like, okay, let's do the Euro note. So we start buying euros. A Euro note, there's a $500 Euro note at the time, which is equivalent to 750 US. So we bought every Euro note there was in Australia.
Yeah.
Like we're buying it and exchanging it. We're putting it in comic books, and now we're sending these comic books back to the US, and it's coming from eBay. At the time, eBay's huge. So if the customs sees it, it says eBay, and they open it up, and it's a comic book, and it's just sealed in this plastic. No one's going to open it up, right? So now we're sending like $20,000 a day in euros. But it's not even putting a dent on this 10 million. So I remember this girl I was dating at the time. She's like, you know what? Why don't you talk to someone that's in the casino business? I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, blackjack? I said, yeah. Well, what about it? She goes, why don't you get like a blackjack player? I know someone. She goes, I know he's a professional blackjack player.
Yeah.
And he's world famous in Las Vegas. He's known as a high roller. And I said, well, what do we need to do? She says, you should meet him. So I go and meet this guy, and he shows up, and he's just this cocky motherfucker. He's like, yeah, I'm a blackjack player. He goes, I'm known all over the world. I'm professional. I don't lose. I'm like, all right, well, what's your fee? He's like, what do you mean? I said, if I give you money, what's your fee to play it on the tables and clean it? He says, I charge 25%. So we go in this agreement. We shake hands. He says, what I'll do is I'll fly over to Australia. He goes, I'm going to have my host from the Venetian call over and let the casino over there know that I'm coming. So the host from the Venetian calls over to the Star Casino. And the host says, hey, I got a high roller coming from Las Vegas. His name's Robert Cipriani, and he's one of the best blackjack players in the world. So they're excited, right? They roll out the red carpet for him. I meet with this gambler, and I just want to do a test run. So I give him 1.5 million. And the agreement was he would take the 1.5 million, and his commission was 25%, and the rest would go back to me.
Yeah.
So he gets to the table, he has 1.5 million, he puts it on the table, they exchange the chips, and he starts playing. He plays blackjack maybe 2 hours. Goes up, goes down, and he tells the dealer, hey, I'm not feeling it, cash me out. So in Vegas, what happens is it's the same way in Australia. You take your chips and you go to the cage and they give you a check.
Yeah.
Right? So now he has a check from Sydney, Australia.
So he's gone cash to chips, now to check while he's walking out.
Now to check.
Gotcha.
So now he's got a check, and now he has a check, let's say 1.5 million.
Yeah.
So now he can take that check, go on a plane without any problems, because he doesn't have cash, he doesn't have chips. He puts it in his pocket, and he flies back to Australia, or flies back to Las Vegas. Mm-hmm. He gets to Las Vegas. He's a high roller. He could do whatever he wants now. He's got that check. He goes to the Venetian, where he's this professional whale, right? He gives him the check, and they say, Mr. Cipriani, what do you want? Give me some cash, give me some chips, whatever. He can get whatever he wants. Yeah. He's got his comp rooms. He calls me like 48 hours later, after I already gave him this bag. He says, we're done. Where do you want the cash? I'm like, holy shit, this guy's a fucking money laundering magician, right? I was so stoked. I'm like, okay. So he had like a little over 900,000 for me. I said, drop off some here, drop off some here. My dad will pick up some. My girlfriend will pick up some. And literally within 15 minutes, the money's clean. And I was like, I found it out. I'm telling El Jefe, where do you want this money? Wow. I figured out the route. Right? I figured out the way. He called me a week later, this gambler. He goes, let's do it again. I go, perfect. I got 2.5 million right now sitting for you in 2 luggages. He flies over, same thing. Boom, drop it off. Takes the 2.5, goes to the casino. 3 hours later, he calls me. I'm like, fuck, this guy's so fast, man.
Yeah.
3 hours. Cody, I'll never forget the day. He goes, we got a problem. I go, what do you mean we got a problem? He goes, I lost the money.
All of it?
I said, what do you mean you lost the money? How the fuck did you lose it? You don't have money to lose.
Yeah.
Remember, 25% of it you can lose. That's yours. But the other 75% is mine. He's like, just give me a few 100,000 more and I'll win it back. I'm like, no fucking way. You know what? He goes, I promise I'll win it back. I said, you know what? Just stay right where you're at. I said, I'm fucking coming over there right now. I was so stressed, Cody. I was with this personal trainer of mine, and I said, man, this guy just lost my money. I said, go put on a suit right now. I'm going to put on a suit. We're fucking going over to this. We're going to see if this guy lost our money. We look like literally like mob bosses. We're suited up. We walk into the Star Casino, and this fucking guy's sweating, and he's nervous, and he's shaking like a fucking leaf.
Yeah.
I go, what do you mean you lost? He goes, I got 300,000 left in my room. I need more, man. We need more, and I'm going to win it all back for you. I said, you're not getting fucking shit from me. You know what? Actually, you're going to go get that 300 grand. And at the same time, you're going to get your passport because I don't want you leaving the country until we resolve this. I was pissed.
Yeah.
This is not my money.
No.
He says, all right, I'll go, man. Everything's going to work out. Don't worry. I'll get your money back. I said, no, get the 300. And I said, bring my passport too. Bring your passport. You're not leaving. So I was like, man, this guy robbed us. Like he's playing us. So I have my friend. He goes and talks to his friend at the casino, who's a pit boss, and he's like, no, this guy really, he blew the money, man. We watched him lose hand after hand, $90,000 a hand. I'm like, fuck this. He's a degenerate. That's what he is.
Yeah.
He ain't no professional. And so 3 hours goes by, and this guy calls me. And he says, what room? And I tell him, hey, we got a room at the Hilton Hotel. I said, we got a room. Come meet us there. Bring your passport. Bring the 300 grand. And we're going to work this out. You know, I'm trying to be nice to him. I want that 300 grand because I don't want him losing any more money. Because that's all he had left at his hotel.
Yeah.
And like, we're just waiting, right? And he's not showing up. And I'm like, fuck it. I told my trainer, I said, let's go back to my spot. I said, this guy ain't coming. So we get back to the spot. And he calls and he says, hey, I'm on my way. So I'm like, perfect. So I tell the trainer, I said, you know what, I'm going to give you some cash. I don't really trust this guy. He knows where I live. I'm going to give you some cash right now. Take it to the hotel. When he arrives with the 700, put it in the suitcase. And after you're done meeting him, go put this money at your place. I said, I want to try to clear the money out of here.
Yeah.
So I give him 700 grand, put it in a small suitcase that fits in a small suitcase. He gets to the Hilton. As soon as he arrives in with the suitcase, he's rolling up, and there's 4 police officers there.
Oh, shit.
And they said, we got a call from an American man that you have a gun in your room. And he's like, what are you talking about? He goes, we have a phone call. And he's like, I don't have no gun. They were like, well, we need to open the bag and see if there's a gun in there. They open the bag, and there's 700 grand. So now I just lost $3.2 million in less than 24 hours of the cartel's money. I'm like, and I don't know it, right? I'm like, holy shit. Fast forward, the guy gets out of jail. He went to jail, and he's like, dude, this guy fucking called the police on us. This guy's fucking a rat. He said we were gonna kill him if we didn't pay him, and he, dude, we're fucked. You got to slow down. I'm like, well, what do I do? He's like, I suggest you get out of Australia. So I'm like, oh my God. I said, what about the 700 grand? He goes, don't worry, buddy. I got a lawyer.
Yeah.
We'll get a lawyer to get that money back. You'll be fine, man. Just get out of Australia. Cody, I'm stressed now. Now I owe the cartel $3.2 million, and now I got to leave Australia because they're going to find out about me. And I go, fuck, man. I get on a plane. I'm fucking stressing, man. I'm like, what am I going to do? As soon as I touch down in Los Angeles, I'm in on LAX, my encrypted phone goes off, and it's El Jefe. He says, hey, I need $3 million dropped off, because he's thinking this transaction went through. He's like, I need $3 million dropped off. I'm like, about that. Like, I need to meet you in person. I'm not going to tell this guy I've never met that I lost $3.2 million of his money. He's going to think I'm lying.
You told him you wanted to meet him in person?
I told him I want to meet him in person.
Okay. I
I was like, there's no way I'm going to tell him, hey, I lost your money. What is that? He's going to fucking have me whacked, right? There's no doubt. Like, he could have me killed like that.
Yeah.
I'd like, hey, I need to meet you in person in regards to something. He said, what do you mean? I said, I need to meet you in person. He says, you're coming to Mexico. This guy's not allowed in the U.S. And I'm like, all right, wherever you want me. Like, I said, I'm 2 hours from Tijuana. He says, all right, I'll fly in. So he flies in from wherever he lives. I'm not going to say the name, but he flies into Tijuana in his private plane. And I remember he says, meet me at McDonald's at 1 o'clock. So when you cross the bridge, there's this McDonald's right on the Tijuana side. And at 12:55, I'm there. I'm on my encrypted phone. I'm like, hey, El Jefe, I'm here. At 1 o'clock sharp, literally, a bulletproof Suburban, black Suburban pulls up. I'm like, holy shit. They roll down the window and they said, Wedo, get in the car. I literally get in this car. The driver has a holster right here with the handgun. And I turn around and there's 2 sicarios, which is Mexican security guards. And they got AK-47s with bulletproof jackets. I'm like, holy shit.
What's going through your mind at that exact
That's it.
moment?
My life's over.
Yeah.
I put it in my head. I'm going into this meeting because if I'm going to get killed, I want to be killed now. I don't want to have to worry that my whole life I'm going to be worried about it. So I went in that meeting going, fuck it. I'm going to be killed. That's cool. It's going to happen. It's be one-on-one. And at least I don't have to stress about this money. And if by chance I can convince this guy that I'm telling the truth, maybe he'll give me a second chance, right? And don't you think I was so damn nervous, Cody? I literally popped like 3 Xanax, took a shot of GHB when I crossed that border, a couple of Vicodin, and I snorted a big thing of cocaine. I said to myself, if I'm gonna fucking get killed, I'm gonna be killed in peace, right? I'm gonna be comfortable.
You've already accepted it.
Yeah, I've accepted it. I was like, I'll just be comfortable, right? So I get in the car, I'm like, fucking, literally like numb, right?
Yeah.
It's like, just take me, right? Like just. So we get in the car, and literally we're driving southbound on this toll road, and another bulletproof car comes, and a black Hummer, bulletproof Hummer, and we're like on this motorcade, right? And I tell people that motorcade kind of reminded us remember when we used to go to the Coliseum for games?
Yeah.
We had that motorcade.
Yeah.
Remember how we had the buses and the cops would take us?
Yeah, and you'd follow them, yeah.
Dude, that was a cool feeling,
Escort.
right?
Yeah, it was cool.
The escort
you guys
was cool,
rocked
right?
the buses
Yeah,
and all that too?
yeah, we rocked it.
A wild moment.
I tell people this was a little different escort. This was with, right? It was a little different.
Yeah.
Definitely not the best situation I was in. And we get to this town called Puerto Nuevo, which is a lobster town in Mexico. And we get there, and we get to this restaurant, famous restaurant, and he's got the whole restaurant shut down. I get in there, and there's 6 sicarios. His sicarios are his hitman, sitting there at this table. There's one lady making tortillas, and there's one waiter. And I sit down at the other end of the table, and there's those 2 sicarios that were in the car with me, they're behind me, still in broad daylight with these AK-47s. I'm like, fucking, where are we at, right? And I'm just sitting there, I'm like, okay, these guys are just gonna fucking shoot the back of my head, and it's gonna be like over. They're gonna take my body and bury me in the desert, right? I tell them the truth, Cody. I sell 1.5 million. Remember, I dropped it off. I was so nervous. I said, remember how I got you the money? I said, the guy did it like fuck 48 hours, Jefe. And I said, then I gave him 2.5 million, and he lost it. And he looked at me, he goes, I know everything already. Because at this point, there's now all these articles coming out in Australia about this guy that got caught with a bag of cash, and there's this American, it's all over the news. And I didn't know it at the time. But he already did his homework. He says, Wedo, don't worry. He goes, you're not gonna die. He goes, but you don't owe me 3.2 million. You now owe me 4 million because you're paying interest, and now you work for the cartel. And I said to myself, Cody, I was like, fuck yeah, I'm gonna live, man. I was so happy. I was like, I'm alive. Like, I don't have to worry about these fuckers behind me. And I remember he says, now have a drink. And I fucking guzzled that margarita.
Yeah.
I was like, give me 5 more of those fuckers, right? And he's like, you're gonna take 2 years off. He says, you're gonna go run your sports book like normal. He says, I'm not worried about the sports book. He says, I'm worried about the money and the drugs. He says, that guy, he's called the police. He's gonna make this thing a problem. He told me. He said, take 2 years off, let the smoke die. He says, then after 2 years, you're working for me. You're working for the cartel.
Wow.
And I said, fuck it. Like, I owe him 4 million. Call it 4 million. Yeah. And that's what I did, Cody. I took those 2 years off, and he says, you got to figure out a way to get cocaine into Australia. You're not using my routes. He says, I'll give you the product, and you figure out how to get it there. He said, all right, I'll figure it out. And between those 2 years, I just started getting, like, prepping, like, how am I going to get it in there? You know, I flew into Fiji, and I met this kingpin from Australia, and we flew into this island because I wasn't allowed back in Australia. I was just wanted.
Yeah.
So we meet over in Fiji, And this kingpin from Australia, we're just like, okay, what are we going to do? And I tell him, you know what we're going to do? We're drinking white wine. I said, we're going to fucking put the cocaine in wine bottles. He says, what do you mean? I said, get me a chemist that can convert liquid cocaine back into pressed kilos. He says, yeah, I got a chemist, don't worry. So I fly back to the US, and at the time I'm doing a lot of construction projects. So I get into this bathtub on this job site, and my contractor and I are literally in this bathtub. We get El Jefe's 10 kilos of cocaine, and I throw it in the bathtub, and this contractor's looking at me like, what the fuck is wrong with you? I'm like, don't worry. So we order this Everclear. It's like 150 proof alcohol.
Yeah.
And you can't even get it in California. It's illegal, right? You have to get it online. And we're dumping this bottles of Everclear, and I'm literally in there with a fucking oar that you use for like a stand-up paddleboard.
Yeah.
And I'm literally in there with this kilos of cocaine and this alcohol, and I'm like fucking stirring it up, man. I look like this mad scientist.
Yeah.
And I got these funnels, and I'm pouring them back into these empty wine bottles. I bought these wine bottles from Napa Valley, and they're dark black bottles. And I poured out all the wine, and these dark black bottles are empty, and I got this funnel, and I'm funneling this liquid cocaine in these wine bottles. And I bought this kit that would put the cork in, and you put the cork in, and then they give you this red wax that you melt on top of the bottle, so it looks like a wine bottle.
Yeah.
You see it with the melted. So it looks brand new. I'm wiping them down with rubbing alcohol so you don't smell the liquid cocaine, and so the dogs don't smell it. I'm putting it back in the case of wine that came in. I got these 2 cases of Napa Valley wine. I call one of my runners that works for the sports book. I said, hey, I need you to go to Napa Valley and mail this package from the same exact winery in the same exact city. And I gave him this address. I said, you're going to mail this to a bottle shop. A bottle shop in Australia is like a liquor store.
And you don't know still if this is going to work or not.
I don't
at this
know.
Point. This is
I'm just shooting. I'm taking a shot at it, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, boss, whatever you need. So he goes to Napa Valley. He goes to that wine store. He puts the exact return address on the packaging slip, and he sends this thing into Australia. And I get a message on my encrypted phone from this kingpin in Australia, and he's like, fuck, mate, it made it.
Oh,
I said, what? He said, it made it, mate. I said, fuck yes, man. I was like, fuck yeah, it made it. So he goes, like the next day, he's got the chemist, and he's pressing this liquid cocaine back, and he's like, mate, it's like 95%. He goes, this is pure cocaine. So out of 10 kilos, I got 9.5 kilos out of it. And I just kept going and going and going. And I'm telling El Jefe, I said, it's working. He's like, no way. I said, it's wine, and it's working. And my tab starts to go down, you know. Every kilo I'm making, you know, 50,000 for me, 50,000 for El Jefe. By the time we exchange the money, you know, I'm clearing like 30,000. But who cares? I'm paying it back.
Yeah.
And then finally, this fucking guy in Australia, this chemist, wants to start taxing us. He's like, I'm doing all the work. I'm going to charge half. I'm like, fuck that. You ain't getting no half. So he wanted to take half the value. I was like, you ain't getting no half. So I went down to that Rolodex again. I went back to those USC times, and I said, I remember there's a guy that was in the SAE fraternity that his parents were in the logistic business. And if I remember correctly, they used to ship chocolate from the United Kingdom into the U.S., and they distribute this chocolate throughout the U.S. They were in the United, like this England chocolate, like European chocolate.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's it. I'm going to find those brothers. And I found the brothers. They were SAEs at USC. And I remember going to this wedding. And I knew they were going to be at this wedding because my buddy on the volleyball team was getting married, and I knew these guys were going to be there. And I get there and I start giving them drinks, and they have no clue what I'm there for. And I'm giving them cocktails, and like they're literally just pounding drinks, right? I got them so fucked up. They're fucking drunk, slurring their words. And I remember one of the fraternity brothers, the SAE brothers, had this pretty girl from like Newport Beach, and she had a Chanel bag as his wife. And I could tell she was just high maintenance. So I was like, this is the one I'm going to go after. I said, hey, brother. I said, I see your wife's probably pretty expensive. I said, how would you like to make $50,000 cash every month? I'll give you $50,000 cash. All I need is your expired chocolate. I was like, for what? I said, let's get coffee on Monday when you're sober, but I need $50,000 of cash I'm going to be giving to you, and I just need your expired chocolate. So you got it. He shook my hand, right? Come Monday, I meet him. I bring him the $50,000 cash so he can see it. He says, all you need is my expired chocolate? He goes, yeah. He's got pallets of expired chocolate, right? I'm like, this is perfect. So he goes, okay, what are we going to do? I said, I don't need to tell you what I'm going to do. I don't want you involved, but you're getting 50,000 cash. He's like, for 50,000 cash, I'm going to help you, whatever you need. I said, okay, you signed up for it. So I call Jefe, I write him on an email, and I said, I need 10 kilos dropped off. So he has 10 kilos dropped off within like 12 hours, right? It's 6 p.m., we're on the loading dock. And I said, you asked, you wanted help. I said, I need your expired chocolate. I said, we need to unpackage all the chocolate on each pallet.
Yeah.
He said, for what? I pull out the duffel bag and there's 10 kilos. I said, we're going to do a test run. I just cut off some Coke for him, give it to him. He loves Coke. He does a couple bumps, right? And he's happy now. And I said, open up the chocolate. So we're opening up these boxes of chocolates. We're taking out the bars. And we're literally placing these kilos in, and then we're putting the chocolate back. And I'm like literally burying them in this pallet's huge, right? There's like 2,000 cases of chocolate. And I'm writing down each row, okay, 13, row 12, row 15. I'm writing down the 10 bricks where they're at. And I tell my people in Australia, I said, I got something coming. I need you guys to give me some kind of like candy store. I said, give me an address for a candy store. So they go find a buddy that owns a candy store, right? And I take the pallets. I said, okay, now you're going to use your address and your company name because you guys already do this. You guys have been around 30 years, and you're going to ship this fucking pallet of chocolate into Australia. He goes, $50,000 a month? No problem, right? And I remember the package arrives, and my mate from Australia goes, mate, we got a problem. I go, what do you mean you got a problem?
Yeah.
He says, I got this pallet of chocolate, but man, I can't find chocolate. Like, there's nothing in here. I'm like, no. I pull out this fucking clipboard. I'm like, go to box 13, box 15, box 12. And he's opening it. He's like, mate, you're a fucking genius. And he's fucking seeing the kilos of cocaine. And I was like, fuck yeah, I did it, man. I fucking got it. So I literally started sending packages of chocolate, literally pallets and pallets of chocolate every 2 weeks. And I finally paid El Jefe back the $4 million. But the whole time this was happening, I was getting very paranoid, and I realized like people were following me. I would go to one of my job sites, and there was like a Verizon vehicle just parked there for like 3 days straight. And I had people that worked for me that were ex-DEA agents, FBI agents that were private investigators for me that worked on my payroll. And I would say, hey man, I got a fucking Verizon vehicle here. And he said, give me the license plate. And he'd run the license plate. He said, boss, those are the feds, man. Oof. I'm like, what do? I got to pay back the cartel. You know, I'm not telling him that, but I'm thinking that.
Yeah.
I'm fuck it, I'm gonna keep working. And literally, I finally start figuring out, okay, now how am I gonna get the money back from Australia, right? This is a common problem. Like, we're using my people over there, they're using their couriers. It's taking forever. One day, my people in Australia said, hey mate, we found a courier that will launder our money for us. And they actually live in America. I said, great. I said, what do we have to do? He says, these guys want to golf with you. They're Swiss bankers. Yeah. Right? I'm like, we'll bring them over. So they're like, well, let's just test it. Let's give him 10 grand to see if he brings it to you. So they gave him 10 grand in Australia, and they meet me at a golf course in San Diego. And they bring me the 10 minus their commission. They charge, I think it was 10 points, which is unheard of. They're like, 2 Swiss bankers, this guy from Hong Kong and another guy from Panama. And they're like, yeah, we're in the money laundering business. I'm like, this is genius. Yeah, this is going to be great. So for 6 months straight, I'm literally meeting these guys, golfing with them. My people in Australia are dropping off like $500,000. I come golf with them, and these guys are giving me cash. And they're giving me cash like every 2 weeks, and they're cleaning the money for me. They start to become my friends. They start to gamble on Bet-O-Dog. They start to have cocktails with me. They start to gamble and bet on golf with me. You know, we're paying like $1,000 a hole. And then they're like one of the boys, right? Yeah. And then I'll never forget it. I was like, one day I went on a date with my girlfriend, and we went to this place called Toca Madera in LA. And these guys showed up to Toca Madera, and they were wearing fucking Tommy Bahama t-shirts. I'm like, fuck, these guys do not belong here. Like, what the fuck? My girlfriend at the time, she's like, these guys are fucking cops, man. Who wears a Tommy Bahama shirt at Toca Madera? Like, they stuck out like sore thumbs, right? And I remember going to them, I said, hey, you guys want to go to the bathroom and do a bump? And they're like, no, we're good. And then I went to the bathroom and they started asking my girlfriend, like, hey, what do you do? Like, do you work for him? Or like, she's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
She's like, I just spend his money. And she said, she told me that night, she goes, these guys are cops, man. They asked me what I do for you and what I do with your money. They're on to you. I'm like, well, they think I'm in the, man, I don't know. I started getting stressed out. I'm like, dude. So I messaged El Jefe. I've already paid him back. And he's like, man, stop working with those guys. He says, nobody does this money laundering business for half the price. He says, those are the feds. I said, dude, don't tell me that, right? And I messaged El Jefe. I said, I'm going to go meet with him actually next, it was September 9th. I'll never forget the day. Yeah, I got a meeting to golf with him. It was a Monday, September 9th. And he goes, dude, don't go. He says, those are the feds. He says, you're going to be living in a 6x8 prison cell for the next 20 years. This was the day before.
Yeah.
Okay. I said, nah, don't tell me that, man. I said, fuck it. I wake up at like 5 in the morning and I drive down to the Aviar Country Club in San Diego. I'm like, fuck, man. Like, is this the feds or am I just paranoid, right? I take a fucking shot of GHB. I do a bump of Coke and I start my morning, right? And I get there and I'm like, am I paranoid or this, like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And then I literally pull up in my Porsche Panamera. And I pop my trunk and I grab the clubs out and my caddy's there and he's nervous. He's like, Mr. Hanson, and he's shaking.
Oh, shit.
I'm like, what's the matter, kid? He's like, Mr. Hanson, how you doing? I said, where the fuck is everyone? There's no one here at the golf course. He goes, I don't know, Mr. Hanson. I'm like, oh, fuck, this doesn't feel right. I go literally to go grab I have this man bag in my passenger side with like 60 grand to gamble on sports and in betting.
Yeah.
And I have my encrypted phones, and I grab my man bag and I pull out of the passenger seat, and there's fucking 15 FBI agents. I look in the sky, there's a helicopter. Yeah, these guys got AR-15s, and I'm like, holy shit, man.
Yeah.
It's over. It's over. And you're probably asking, like, fuck, were you scared?
Yeah, what's going through your mind in that moment?
Dude, I'm not gonna lie, I felt relieved. For the first time in my life, I felt like, okay.
Had you been waiting for that moment, almost just anticipating for such a long time?
For so long, I've been just waiting and waiting.
Yeah.
I was like, I wanted to end, man. And I was like, okay, now I never have to fucking work for the cartel again. I don't have to worry about the $4 million. I paid them back. And it was like a relief. Like I could finally fucking start over.
Yeah, man, that's wild. So, go to prison, do your time. You ended up getting out early, correct? I saw that you got out early. You've been out for over a year now, which is awesome. What's been going on since then, man? I've seen you done some stuff with the Boyle Heights junior football team, helping those guys out.
Yeah.
I know you're doing some stuff with protein ice cream, which is really cool too, man. What's that been like since you got out, now kind of getting acclimated again to normal life?
It's hard. I'm not gonna lie. Going from $1 million a day to coming home to nothing, right?
Yeah.
Like I was like scratching my head, like, what am I gonna do? You could go back to that old life and go away to prison for the rest of your life, right? Or you could turn a negative into a positive. And I said to myself when I was in there, I was like, it's time to rehabilitate, right? The judge sent you to prison, like, do something with your life. And I went to prison, I was like, okay, I'm gonna help students, I'm gonna help inmates get their GEDs, I'm smart enough to help them with that. I did that, and then I was like, you know what, I'm so fucking bored in here, I'm gonna go get my master's degree. So I got my master's degree in business administration while I was locked up. And I started writing my book, The California Kid. So I wrote a book, I published a book. And I was like, okay, what's next? And I remember Mark Wahlberg's team reached out and they're like, hey, we want to do a docu-series on your life. And so I was like, all right, well, let's do that, fuck it.
Yeah.
So they started doing that process in like 2019 while I was incarcerated. They started doing phone interviews, and then they eventually got in and started interviewing in prison and talking on the phone about, how it all went down and what happened and where did it start and how did it end, right? And so I'm telling them, but there's still this emptiness, like I'm bored, man. I'm a hustler, I need to do something. And by accident, one day I froze my protein shake. So in prison, we work out twice a day, like that's our life, working out, right? As an athlete, you should know, like, dude, when you work out, you feel good, right? So I'm just gonna try to feel as good as I can in prison, even though I'm in a 6x8 cell. And so one day, like literally I put in my mind, okay, I'm gonna make protein shakes and I'm gonna drink them. And when I drink them, I tell people, my body's in prison, but my mind's elsewhere. So when I'm drinking that protein shake, I'm really at Equinox in the Earth Bar drinking it, right? Like that's how my mind's working. So I don't think about it, right? Yeah. And I remember one day, the way we keep our protein shakes cold, we don't have refrigerators or freezers in prison. So what we do is we take a mop bucket and we put a plastic bag in it and we throw ice in the mop bucket. We can get ice, as much ice as we want. One day the ice ran out, the machine broke, and my cellie comes in, he's like, hey, we got a problem. He goes, we got no more ice. He goes, we got like maybe 3 inches of ice. I said, well, what do we do? He's like, dude, just throw some salt and it'll keep it cold. So by the time you come back from your workout, the ice might be melted, but at least your shit's cold. Okay, whatever. So I have my protein shake. I literally take my protein shake, it's a peanut butter jar and it's empty. And I pour milk in it. We get a bag of milk every day from the kitchen, the chow hall.
Yeah.
So I pour a bag of milk, and then every Monday and Wednesday we get bananas. So I would smuggle out the bananas and I would chop them up and throw them in my protein shake. And then commissary, they allow you to buy 7 protein shakes a week, 1 for every day.
Yeah.
So I pour the protein shake in, I'd slice the bananas, I'd drizzle some peanut butter from the commissary, and I would shake it all up. And I put it in this mop bucket. So by the time I come back from my workout, it's like that fucking Earth Bar protein shake. Right?
Yeah.
So I come back and I go to grab it and my protein shake's fucking frozen, man. I'm like, man, you told me it was gonna be cold. He's like, what are you complaining for, man? Just take a spoon and eat it.
Yeah.
Like, okay. So I started eating it. I'm like, dude, this is like fucking ice cream. And he's like, told you it was good, huh? I'm like, dude, protein ice cream. I said, we're on to something, right? Boom.
Yeah.
The idea, ding, like da-da-da-da, like,
Yeah.
oh, this is going to be my hustle. He's like, dude, you think you could sell those? I said, dude, we don't have ice cream in prison. I said, everyone works out, so why don't I sell protein ice cream? And I just made an offer. Like I said, you know what, I'm going to charge $15 just to see if they buy it, right? Dude, I sold the first 7. It was pre-sold. After they tried it, the next day I did 14. The next day I did 21. And every day I'm literally with these mop buckets, and I got guys working for me now in their cells. They're shaking these fucking mop buckets to freeze them faster. By the time the Super Bowl hit, I sold that day, Super Bowl Sunday, I'll never forget it. I sold 50 ice cream at $15 a pop.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, dude, you made more money than the prison guards. I said, yeah,
Dr.
right.
O-Dog,
Dr.
man.
O-Dog. I'm
Dr.
back,
O-Dog.
dude. I was like, dude, this is my calling. Like, this is fun. I'm hustling.
Yeah.
Now I got the guards going, oh, there's the fucking ice cream man, right? Like, fuck it. I'm the ice cream man. That's right. I went from selling one ice cream to another ice cream. This one's safer and it's cleaner and it's healthy. And I was like, okay, so now like you said, I get out early. 2024, I won the lottery in life. I won in the court system. I got some appeal action, basically, that I had a crooked attorney in Australia, and I ended up testifying against this crooked attorney.
Yeah.
They flew me to Australia, and I took the stand against this fucking corrupt guy that was supposed to defend me, and he ended up getting me indicted. Long story short, I'd rather have people go watch the documentary because it kind of explains what happened.
Yeah, please do too. Yeah, we'll plug it.
And so I literally get out early. I get 16 months halfway house, and I'm sitting on my bunk bed in the halfway house where 20 other inmates, and I'm sitting there. I'm like, what the fuck am I going to do? I'm a convicted felon. No one's going to hire me. And one of my buddies, my old gambling clients, calls me. He's like, what are you doing, man? And I tell him the story how I was selling protein ice cream. He goes, man, you're a fucking hustler. He goes, what do you want to do? I said, to be honest, man, I've been going on Google, and there's nobody that sells protein ice cream. I said, there's this company called Halo Top. And I said, they have like 5 grams per serving. I said, who the fuck cares about 5 grams of protein? Like I want to make a protein ice cream that has like 20 or 30 grams. It's like, so what do you want to do? I said, I want to continue making it. I said, I want some support. Maybe you guys can back me. And I'm going to go figure out a way to make protein ice cream that's healthy. I'm going to use a Greek yogurt base. I'm not going to put sugar in it. I'm going to put monk fruit, which is a natural ingredient. I'm going to put a little whey protein. And I'm going to come up with a formula, and I want to put it on a stick. So it's like having a protein shake on a stick, but we'll turn it into ice cream.
Wow.
And literally, I went to 9 ice cream manufacturers, and they all turned me down because I was this convicted felon. They're like, nah, we're good.
Yeah.
The 10th guy, I gave him my book, The California Kid. I said, read this, man. I said, I paid back the cartel $4 million fucking dollars. I will not do you dirty. I said, if you work with me, you're going to make money. Trust me. I know how to make money. I'm a fucking hustler. And he read the book, and like 2 days later, he goes, you know what? I believe in you. He goes, I will do anything you want. R&D, all the R&D is on me. He didn't charge me $1. I probably spent $150,000 on R&D coming up with this formula. And finally, I got my first bar, and it was like perfect, man.
Yeah.
I brought some.
Yeah.
And literally, we should bring them on.
Yeah, grab them. Yeah.
So
you grab them? Yeah,
dude,
grab 'em.
they're insane.
Yeah.
So I literally was like, I go, okay, what am I going to do? Like, how am I going to sell this? Like, my mindset goes, okay, imagine how drugs are sold. They're sold on every street corner. Imagine if I could have a freezer in every nutrition store, every gym.
Yeah.
And I have these, these drug dealers, but they're selling protein ice cream now, right? I'm providing a freezer to all the gyms and nutrition stores, and all I ask them to do is to buy the ice cream.
Yeah.
And I tell these guys, let's just get it out there, right? Like I say, this cookies and cream is to die for.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I'm gonna grab a couple on the way out.
So I literally, I came up with this one because you and I went to USC. Where do we play? Coliseum Cookies and Cream, right?
Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Got the palm trees on there.
Yeah. So
everything.
another flavor, this strawberry right here is called strawberry swole cake. So I played with a guy named Brandon Hancock. You remember?
Yeah.
Brandon was a fullback. We used to call him Swolecock, right? But I can't call a fucking ice cream Swolecock, right? Like that doesn't sound appealing. So I said, you know what? I'm going to call it strawberry swole cake, right? Instead of shortcake.
Yeah.
So I named that after him. And people are like, why did you name it after him? This man would visit me every month in prison.
Yeah.
None of my other brothers did that. None of my fucking friends did that. But Brandon's my ride or die. Every month he'd come visit me. I said, man, I'm going to name this after you. Strawberries. It's not going to be swolecock. It's going to be. You're right.
I think that was the right choice.
Yeah. So we got strawberry swole cake.
Yep.
We got more protein.
Yeah.
And we have your cake and eat it too. For all the ex-girlfriends that used to tell me, man, you want your cake and you want to eat it too. So I made them a bar.
Where can people get these?
Direct to consumer at CaliforniaIceProtein.com.
Okay.
Or on our website. It shows the 100 stores we're in. We're in a lot of gyms, Nutri-Shops, GMCs, some 24-hour fitnesses. But I say, just go on the website. If I can figure out how to get cocaine in Australia, I'll figure out how to get ice cream to your fucking doorstep.
I love
right?
it, man. All right, Owen. Well, I got one more for you, man, before we
me.
get out of here. I think this is probably the big question. Knowing what you know today, after everything you've told, the unbelievable story, if you could go back in time, if you could go back to 20 years ago and talk to Owen Hanson, or maybe anybody listening at home that's thinking about going down that path, what would you tell them? What would your advice be?
Man, that's a good question, and I've thought of that. I've thought about it for 10 years in that prison cell, right?
Yeah.
And I figured it out, and it's be yourself. If I would have been myself and not cared about what everybody else thought, I wouldn't be in this situation.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Right?
Yeah.
Be yourself. You don't have to try to be someone that you're not. You don't have to be a Cody Kessler, a Matt Leinart, a Reggie Bush. Be an Owen Hanson, right? If I would have used my mindset, maybe I would have been a Forbes 50 for DraftKings. Maybe I would have been the CEO of a real estate development. But I wanted to fit in so bad and be somebody that I wasn't.
Yeah.
So I tell people, be yourself. And, now I know I broke the law and I can't take back what I did. But hopefully I can tell others where I went wrong and hope they don't go down that path.
Yeah, man. That's awesome. Well, I appreciate you coming on, man, being vulnerable, telling that story. Everyone, Owen Hanson, give it up for him. Thanks for joining us in the arena, everybody, too. We'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Fight on.
Yeah, fight on. Great stuff, brother. That's awesome.